I was able to be lucky enough to meet Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough. This is circa, I think this is before my son was born. So it's like circa, and this is before Trump, I believe. 2015, I believe. This is circa 2015. I have been a big fan of Joe since Joe Scarborough. I know there's people who have a lot of issues with both of them. I'm not going to get that deep. There's a lot of stuff I'm not going to get into here. I understand it. I know it's out there. Damn it. Trump put it all out there. And I didn't really like that. Mika and Joe were cool with Trump. They've been cool with Trump and then they fell out. I just like when stuff like that happens, you handle it privately, but whatever. That's not what I'm going to talk about here. You might have heard
the capital of
You might have heard Mika and Joe talked about the Freedom Convoy. They're entitled to their opinion. So I'm just going to hear them out right now.
Canada to a standstill. Dozens of trucks and other vehicles could be seen blocking the downtown area of Ottawa as protesters rallied against vaccine mandates, masks, and lockdowns.
That seems like an interesting way to spend your weekend.
The demonstrations were initially aimed at pushback against vaccine mandates for truck drivers crossing the U.S.-Canada border. But the movement escalated into an expression of disapproval with the Canadian government's COVID-19 policies. Officials say several investigations are underway into reports of severe vandalism and criminal behavior, including the desecration of national monuments. Meanwhile, Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson said some protesters harassed a soup kitchen, demanding free meals because their refusal to wear masks meant they were not to order in restaurants. That soup kitchen tweeted COVID protesters were given meals to diffuse the conflict and that this weekend's events have caused significant strain on our operations at an already difficult time.
So these anti-vaxxers actually took food from the mouths of the homeless.
Hungry, yeah.
Because they're so put upon. Because they have a vaccine. I'm just curious, again, where were these protests when people were required to get 5 vaccines to start school? Where were these protests when people were required to give their children 5 vaccines?
They were in the doctor's office getting vaccines.
They were in the doctor's office getting vaccines, and they were making fun of left-wingers on the West Coast for being loopy anti-vaxxers.
Okay.
Now they have met the enemy, and the enemy, their enemy, is themselves, because they've become what they hated. They've become what they mocked. And now they're taking food from soup kitchens because they're so put upon for being asked to do what they've been asked to do, required to do their entire lives. It's a cult.
Yes, it is. A historic moment in the middle.
I want cooler heads to prevail. I know a lot of people were talking about them making that statement. It's a cult. It's a cult. I've said that too. I've said that if you believe in critical theory of race, gender, I think you have to be careful that you're not a part of a cult. Even in believing with the establishment narrative, you have to be careful. So I've used the same rhetoric. I'm not going to knock them for using that rhetoric just because I disagree with them on it. And I will continue to use I don't want to be overly passionate, but that we're talking about some deep stuff here. So I'm not gonna knock them for that piece of it. Here's where I want to, before I get into the detail, I want to just do a quick retort to some of the things that they said respectfully. During the summer of love and before that, we heard many people say resist peaceful protests. Then all of a sudden, don't do peaceful protests. Why would you even do that? We know with Black Lives Matter, we had violence that resulted in at least 25 dead, 700 officers injured, 2 killed, 14,000 arrests, $2 billion in damage. And I want to hear them out, just like this is Canada. But I think if you have that many people protesting, I don't care if it's Black Lives Matter or the freedom protest, somebody's got to start listening. So my feedback to them is we had all this damage, all this problem around, and I'm not blaming, not everybody was violent, but we had those problems there, and we don't have that same energy as you do with the soup kitchen. So let's have a real conversation. The statues that were desecrated, I don't know what they're talking about. So I'm not claiming that this is what they were talking about, but this is the only thing I could find. Maybe somebody else has seen more. The Canadian flag is upside down. Hopefully this is big enough to see. The Canadian flag is upside down, and they have mandate freedom on the statue. It was one statue this is what this person on Twitter is saying. They were even caught on video cleaning the streets of any mess they made. I will show some of that video later. The soup story is possible. I have no reason not to believe the soup story. But if that's the worst thing that happened, it was successful, peacefully. I don't condone it. I'm not saying it was good, but that was the worst with all those trucks, all those people. That's the worst. Oh, come on. That means the protest was wildly successful at being peaceful. So the story came out. I have no reason not to believe it. I don't know if it's true or not, so I'm not going to knock them either way. Joe started talking about the mandates in school. My take is, what do mandated Vs for children passed through state laws regulated to schools have to do with, I'm bringing it back to the U.S., the federal government trying to fire workers through executive order who have done nothing wrong? Same with Canada, though. How can you be a trucker if you can't go across the border? I don't even understand why we're comparing the two things. If you want that, let's talk about the U.S. Joe, if you want the V mandates in school just like the other ones, keep in mind there's exceptions. But if you want them just like the other ones, every state's free to pass a law. It's been 2 years. You're free to pass a law. What's the problem? Not that I would agree with it, not that I would even think it's constitutional, but let's get to the first step. Pass legislation. Largely, we don't have a problem with those Vs. Every V is not going to be the same. With this one, we don't want this one mandated. Those, no problem, most people. That's okay. That's the will of the people. Let me tell you why this is emotional for me. I think very highly of Mika Brzezinski. And again, I don't want to talk about her father. I don't want to talk about this stuff with Joe. I just want to talk about how I feel about them as personalities and celebrities and TV personalities. I bought this book for my wife. I think it's an excellent book. I recommend it to anyone, not just women, anyone. But it really hit home to me when I found out about this book, right when it came out. My wife was having, in my opinion, confidence issues at her job. And I look at her, I'm like, you're amazing. Look at all the skills you do. Look at all the positive things. And some of the things they talk about in the book is when men apply for a new role, for a promotion, I don't know the exact percentage, but they say men only need to match the role mentally, because men and women are different. This isn't like a black or white thing. I mean, men and women are fundamentally different in certain regards. And men look at it and they say, if I match that job description for that promotion 20%, I've got a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. I'm going in for it. No different than when it comes to dating, asking somebody out. If I have that was back in the day, I'm married now, but if I have a 1% chance, I'm asking. I'm going to try to find a way to make that work. We found through this study that women, they needed something like 75 to 80% matching the skills and qualifications to apply for the promotion. So if you're holding back like that, you don't get it. I'm just showing that as an example of powerful stuff, her telling her story, and I think in a positive way could affect other people. I think Mika's a leader. I think she has grilled some people on her show on the left and the right. Joe is one of those guys you would like to, I don't know if he drinks or not, I'm just saying hypothetically, you would have a beer with and talk sports, especially pre-Trump sports, politics, as the pre-Trump for the politics. and you just talk the night through. He's a God-fearing man. He has his band. Some people don't like his band. I like his band, and I like it because it's a form of expression. Not that he's the dopest band or singer or whatever, performer ever, or guitarist, but it's a form of expression. You don't really even see Republicans do that. I know he's an independent now. People called him a rhino before. You know what? Before Trump, the term rhino means nothing. Republicans and Democrats were exactly the same, except for a couple single voter issues. We never had a two-party system. Trump came in, he created a real two-party system, and everybody had to switch sides. I want to give a shout out to Willie Geis. He was a great addition. So I watched Joe Scarborough. I'm going to get to the point here. I watched Joe Scarborough back when he had the show called Scarborough Country. I didn't know Mika until she came in with the Morning Joe. They brought in Willie Geis. Willie Geis is amazing. He's the guy who asked Nancy Pelosi, hey, we've been through the pandemic for a while now, and you've been very critical of Donald Trump. But Congress is their own legislative body. You can bring in your own experts. You can propose your own laws. Why haven't you done that? The guy's fearless, and I think he has integrity. Willie Geis is great. His father, if you might know his father, Bill Geis. I used to watch CBS Sunday Morning, and his father was on there all the time with Charles Kuralt and Charles Osgood, and it would be Bill Geis. So now I'm watching his son. I'm feeling old, but it all changed when Trump won. Mika and Joe were ahead of the game. They saw what was happening with Donald Trump. People on the left attacked them because Mika and Joe were like, wait a second, this Trump stuff is for real. People need to start paying attention to this. They were bringing people in. I remember when Bill Kristol came on the show, Mika Brzezinski just grilled him. Like, we've been on this. We told y'all Trump was coming up, and you weren't listening to the people. But after Trump won, in the whole world, everything changed. And I respect Mika. I respect Joe, Willie. I bought my wife, I told you, a copy of Know Your Value. This is difficult for me. People I've had love for from afar. I don't know them personally. Just met them once. But people I've had love for this is in all aspects. Family, friends, personalities. Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky is one of the greatest philosophers of all time. And he's talking about locking the unveed up in their rooms and not even to get groceries. People I've had love for. We are now on the opposite sides of a serious fundamental disagreement. It doesn't get any more serious than freedom. I still respect her and all of them. Much love to them. But I'm just being honest. This is not to be disrespectful. It's getting hard. So I have to do the same thing. I have to show respect. But when you don't get that same respect back, it's not going to work. Still got love for them. What I want to say and leave out
This
with
may be a negative thought, but
it's not a negative thought, Sarah.
this may be a negative.
It's not a negative thought, Sarah. What I want to leave with this is I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to argue anymore. We're not going to come to some type of magical agreement. Mika, Joe, anyone else, how do we coexist? How do we continue? I think you guys love America. How do we keep America together, or how do we break her apart peacefully? How do we go forward? That's what I need to hear now. We can't go forward like this. This isn't going to work. We're too far apart. I think I've proposed solutions, and this isn't what I want to have happen, but I don't think we can overcome this. I'm going to try to with love and caring, but Sarah said it best.
This may be a negative thought, or maybe a positive one. I don't know. But if people aren't getting along, like in relationship, they break up, So like, why don't we just finally just realize that these states aren't working and like divide up into like 2 or 3 countries of like USA 1 and USA 2. And they can be USA 1. Like the conservatives can be USA 1 because they love being number
Isn't that cute, Sarah? That's a little diss, I think.
1, and that it means something to them. And I'd love to have that be theirs. They can be USA 1, we'll be USA 2, and we'll be allies. And you'll
I love that she said that, though. Hypothetically, this would take generations. It's not going to happen quickly. If it happened, we would have to be allies. We would want to be allies.
over here and we'll go over there. And, you know, when you come to many times when you go to a different country, you have to get a vaccine.
Yep.
That's it. By the end of the question, by the end of my answer, I have no idea what the question was. I don't think I'm anywhere near
No,
it.
you are, sir. Give yourself credit. That's it. Let me know what you think.